Welcome back to your Caribou Data Science channel, YouTube, and also welcome back to my Rumble family. This is uh, this is version 4 or 5 of my Can We Trust the COVID-19 numbers report. Uh, in a nutshell, I believe overall we can, even at the state levels. Uh, all of this, the report that follows certainly questions that my sanity. Okay. So we could start out here by so this part 5 was prompted by 2 articles. Okay, the first one on January 28, 2021, in the New York Times. New York severely undercounted virus deaths in nursing homes. Now, what's interesting about this report here is that this is a liberal newspaper. This is a liberal newspaper questioning a liberal Democratic governor's administration handling of the COVID handling of the COVID-19 virus deaths numbers. And we move down in this article. It says this: just hours later, Miss James, the Attorney General, was proved correct as health department officials made public new data that added more than 3,800 deaths to the tally, representing nursing home residents who died in hospitals and had not previously been counted by the state as a nursing home death. Now, are they saying they weren't counted, or they weren't counted as nursing home deaths? So they had 3,800 to the tally for nursing homes. Did they did they subtract the numbers from the general count, or did they simply add them into the general count? That's the first article. Now that today, while I was looking for information on Ohio, I came across this article by the Associated Press dated February 12th, 2021, 9:26 a.m. The headline reads: Ohio Health Department to restructure after 4,000 unreported deaths. Now, here's the thing about this one that's kind of interesting. Here we go. The High Department of Health is restructuring its infectious disease. How is restructuring going to change anything? Okay, if the same people are simply shifted from position to position, nothing is going to change. Okay, that's the question. Does restructuring include firing of supervisors and managers? But anyway, here's the key thing. As many as 400 unreported COVID-19 deaths will be investigated. Down here it said, today's daily COVID-19 death toll showed more than 720 deaths, of which 650 came from previously unreported deaths. So they add them all into one day, which really kind of. So this is where the question comes from: can we trust COVID-19 deaths, cases, and deaths? Can we count? Can we even accept the cases? Well, I, I, I still believe that we can derive some useful information from the numbers. Okay, I still believe when we look at the plots here, when the plot goes up, that actually represents an increase in the actual numbers reported, and when the plot goes down, that represents an actually decrease in number. Now the actual number you see is not correct, but the trend of the numbers, the trend of the plot is still basically correct. So let's take a look here. We're going to use a couple of extra libraries today: ggplot2 scale and bring data from an SQL database, a little dplyr action. This is the star of the show. This is a Benford analysis report by Carlos Cinelli. This here gives us various types of rolling mean and moving averages. So that's just you can see the first report is in fact for New York, or is for Ohio. Okay, and of course the question is the trend still our friend? I believe the answer is yes. The trend is still our friend. Okay, the trend still shows us the correct underlying movement of the data, but not the correct numbers of data. If that makes any sense at all. We saw this article here, so let's load a little few libraries. Let's load some data. Now let's do a plot of the first two data. Okay. So what this is a 7 and 20-day moving average for Ohio COVID-19 deaths. And you can see what happens here. You can see the 7-day average is showing a bit of a decline, and the days here are showing. And the 28-day, which is a little smoother, is showing a little bit of a decline also. Now, like I said, remember, first of all, these are averages. So that means at this point here, the spike here for this day, for January 2021 is, okay, that's the average for the blue line is the average for the previous 7 days. And the red line is the average for the previous 28 days. So therefore, we've kind of compensated, in my opinion, for the missing deaths for the state of Ohio. Okay? The shape of the data, the missing numbers, in my opinion, would not have changed this line here much. It would not have changed the shape of the data here much, okay? If that makes sense, all right? Now we're going to look at the BIF analysis for Ohio daily deaths. Look at the first digit and the first 2 digits, okay? So we're going to create a little data here, okay? So here is the Ohio deaths first digit. You know, it actually doesn't fit too bad. But as Mr. Negrini would say, well, first digits really aren't that useful. Okay, let's take a look at the first 2 digits. Now this tells a completely different story. Again, the red line is the expected Binford number making on the total counts. Look at these spikes. Look at the days when it's underneath this count also. So that to me, this is enough. You know, this combined with the admission that the counts are wrong would indicate, if we look at a plot for any other state, and it looks similar to one of these two here, particularly looks similar to this death number here, then that's an indication that there's a high probability that there may be a problem with the numbers for that state, okay? Let's take a look at New York now. As always, we're going to take a look at the 2 numbers. You can see it's interesting that New York has this huge, massive decline here, isn't it? Okay. 7 blue 7-day moving average, red as a 20 moving average, okay? Again, now here's the again, just to go back a moment here. If those deaths in New York were counted, just count the wrong place, then this plot would still be correct. Because we're not concerned with just nursing home deaths. This is concerned with all COVID-19 deaths in New York. Let's take a look nonetheless at their plots. Okay. Well, again, the red's expected. You can see that the first digit is actually above the expected amount, but the second and third digits are underneath the expected amount, which is kind of interesting. Okay. Now we look at the second digit. Notice, look how dense this is over here from 10 to 22. Now that's interesting to me. And look at all the days when it's underneath the line and above the line. These spikes above the line about 40 and so forth. 70, huge spike on 70, huge spike on 80, 82. So to me, this would still raise a number, even if there's still, to me, this still ranges. Although I will point out, a caveat is I've had 2 different people tell me that while Benford's law could be used data analysis on COVID-19 data, it cannot be used to prove that the numbers are wrong. I believe it can. I believe, again, if we know that New York, Ohio is fudging their numbers, then this Benford law distribution is going to reflect that fudge. So any state whose numbers don't add up, whose numbers don't add up to who looks similar to New York or Ohio's two-digit number, particularly, is probably also fudging your numbers. Okay, well, so so let's just run this report from the top so we can see the finished PDF report. And you know what? Let's open this in a let's open this up in a real report, shall we? Okay, let's close this. Let's even close this. So is the trend still our friend? In my opinion, the trend is still our friend. 7-day, 7-day, 28-day, we've seen that the highest numbers are trending down a little bit. First digit doesn't look that bad, but for a high, the first two-digit deaths looks just downright crazy, okay? What about New York? Well, this is, again, we discussed New York here before, right? Again, the first digit's interesting. 2 and 3 and 4 are below this, even 5's below this line, but 1 is above the line. Now look at all the space below this line here, and all these spikes here. To me, that suggests something is wrong. Okay, so anyway, that concludes a very brief report for today for the what I call Can We Trust the Numbers, number 14. I'm going to call this number 5. This is the brief version of it, a brief walkthrough, okay? Thanks so much for your time. We'll catch you on a later report.